If it gets to 10, I might just bet it, from a contrarian angle here and take Carolina. Tim, you remember not that long ago, we would say when Bill Belichick has an extra week to prepare. He's had the entire offseason to prepare for this game. But that was the old Bill Belichick. Now he just looks old and looks tired, and I don't know if he's got much left in the tank.
This is VSiN's College Football Betting Podcast.
Welcome in. Another edition of the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast, a special edition live from the Sheraton Waikiki here in lovely Honolulu. Alongside Matt Youmans, I'm Tim Murray. Week 0 is here. College football finally back in our lives. There will actually be games tonight in the FCS ranks, but you and I, Matt, are here to break down the Week 0 card. We'll also do a recap at the end of our season-long bets that we've got in pocket. But Matt, yesterday on VSiN Primetime, you and I got to enjoy sitting out here for 4 hours. Jensen Lewis called it Harvey Dent. I'm the Dark Knight being in the shadows here, and I like the way that it is. I am in the shadow, and you are recharging, like you said last night on the show. You're a solar panel over there.
I didn't really get Jensen's reference because I didn't watch that movie. So I said, that's probably funny. Whatever. The new Batman movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't watch that one.
Yeah, it's just Batman. Harvey Dent is Two-Face.
This is not just another edition of the VSiN.
This is
College Football Betting Podcast. Like you said, it's a special edition. It's great to be out here. This is one of the most photographed locations in the world back here, Waikiki and Diamond Head, and it's great to have this backdrop for our first show. Hopefully it brings us good luck all season.
That would be nice. I
felt like it brought us good luck last year,
right? It brought us the luck last year. You and I were here for Hawaii and Stanford Part 1, and Hawaii won that game. Will they win this year? We'll dive into that game here in just a moment, but shout out to our presenting sponsor of this episode of the podcast, back for another year. They're going to be doing the Chase games, which will start next week. The late night games, our friends at Rainbow Authentics, from game used apparel to autographs, trading cards, to your favorite Hawaii student athletes. Rainbow Authentics has you covered. Plus, they've got custom gear like the hat that I'm wearing if you're watching with us on YouTube to make you look your best every game day. So capture the moment, own a piece of history, and support Hawaii athletics. RainbowAuthentics.com. So, Matt, let's jump into it, and we'll start with the first game of the college football season, like it was last year, over in Dublin, Ireland, Aviva Stadium. TCU taking on North Carolina. Last year was Kansas State, Iowa State. You liked the dog a year ago, and here this season, Matt, we're at 9.5 at DraftKings. Circa, most spots are at 9.5 now. TCU, it has been one-way traffic on the Horned Frogs. Mm-hmm. This game will be a noon Eastern kick on ESPN, Matt. So many storylines with this game, with Bill Belichick and everything that's unfolded since he's gotten to Chapel Hill. His son, Steve Belichick, the defensive coordinator, currently on medical leave, not expected to be calling the plays for this game. And then you got TCU. Josh Hoover, he's off to Indiana, Matt. They bring in a transfer from Harvard and Jaden Craig. They've got a new offensive coordinator coming in from UConn. Seems like everybody in the world is jumping off the Bill Belichick side. Is this something that would interest you to take a look at the ugly dog here?
Well, as I look at the screen right now, Circa's up to 9.5. And like you said, bookmakers call this a one-way attack. If it gets to 10, I might just bet it, from a contrarian angle here and take Carolina. Tim, you remember not that long ago, we would say when Bill Belichick has an extra week to prepare. He's had the entire offseason to prepare for this game. But that was the old Bill Belichick. Now he just looks old and looks tired, and I don't know if he's got much left in the tank. If this gets to 10, I will bet a little bit on the Tar Heels here as a contrarian play. Look, there's a lot not to like about North Carolina right now. Michael Lombardi, our former colleague at VSiN, is on leave as GM. The GM is not there. The defensive coordinator is not there. Billy Edwards is the quarterback transfer from Maryland and Wisconsin. I don't see a lot to like with Carolina. Obviously, a lot of public bettors feel the same way. I think a lot of sharp bettors too on TCU here. But, it gets to the point, if it gets to 10, I will probably take North Carolina. I will say I will bet it if it gets to 10. I don't know if it's going to get there. Circa's very close right now. And when it gets to 10, I think you'll see sharp money on the dog. But how sharp is that going to be? Is Bill Belichick going to get embarrassed by TCU again? You got to wonder, Tim, if he gets blown out in this game, is it the beginning of the end of Belichick in Chapel Hill?
Win total of 4.5 for this UNC team this year. Brad Powers was on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line with me a couple weeks ago. He bet under 4.5 at a plus money price for the North Carolina Tar Heels, Matt. And, keep an eye out on the weather. Last year over in Ireland, rainy, not like the weather we have here.
Not
beautiful
like
sunshine. A little bit of difference, Matt, of our weather versus the weather in Dublin, Ireland. What would you prefer, Matt? Dublin weather or Hawaii weather?
I've never been to Dublin. I've been to Hawaii about 40 times, so you know which one I prefer. Someday I might go to Ireland to play golf. I just have no idea what makes that such an attractive football destination. If it's Notre Dame, I understand it.
Yeah, a couple of years ago it was Notre Dame. Right, yeah. Notre Dame did go over to Aviva Stadium a couple of years ago.
Do the Irish care about the Horned Frogs and the Tar Heels?
I don't know. It's like,
probably not.
Do the English care about Kansas and Arizona State?
Yeah.
That'll be a game, believe it or not, that is happening later on this year. So no plays officially from me and Matt on this game. And Matt, you mentioned sharp money. Now remember, these lines have been up all off season long. Sharp money came in on TCU minus 6.5.
Right.
Is there sharp money on them at 9.5? I don't think so. It might be more public money. So I'm with Matt. I won't be an official play, but if this gets to 10, like you said, it might be a contrarian play just to hold your nose and play North Carolina. Once again, I do have some, it's not like TCU's had a great offseason.
No.
They're starting safety that they got in from Louisiana Tech, got into a fight with a teammate that sent him to the hospital. That wide receiver not going to play in this game. The safety kicked off the team. And, you talk about transfers all the time. And a Harvard transfer, how is he going to look at this level? And like you mentioned, Matt, you got Bill Belichick scheming it up here. So that'll be the first game, noon Eastern, ESPN. Matt, let's go to 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, NBC. We've got San Jose State visiting the only ranked team in action in Week 0. That would be the USC Trojans. And we have also seen one-way action on this particular game as the number has now climbed to 38.5, and the total keeps rising as well, 60.5 right now. I believe there were, early on in the offseason, some 55.5s out there. I mean, this number has been one way, but there's for good reason, Matt. I know you're interested in the total here. Last year, in their season opener, USC put up 73 points in their opener against Missouri State.
That was Missouri State, and the San Jose State team might not be much better. It's totally rebuilt defense. Offense is losing some key pieces, too. Luke Weaver, who was backup quarterback at Hawaii a year ago, he went 2-0 as a starter. He threw the winning touchdown pass in the Hawaii Bowl when he came in with 15 seconds left to replace Micah Alejado. Weaver's not bad. You and I kind of like a little bit about Weaver. He might be able to move the ball, especially in the second half against the USC defense. I think the angle that you've talked about, the USC team total over, is a good one. I would be really surprised if Lincoln Riley does not drop a 50 bomb or something bigger than that on this San Jose State defense. I think he wants to make a statement, whatever kind of statement it is when you're playing San Jose State. It's not a huge one, but still, I think he wants to put up a big number. Jade Mayava, the veteran quarterback for USC, probably going to put up 300-plus yards, 4 touchdowns. This could be a feel-good game for USC, kind of a name-the-score type of game. I'm thinking something like 59-10.
Yeah.
So I did play this over 59.5.
Yeah, team total 49.5 for USC right now. And if you go to DraftKings, you want to bring it down a little bit, I would not recommend this, but $1.40 on over 48.5. Look, play it at 49.5 if you are so inclined. I do think this is an opportunity here for USC. You look at the start of the season, Matt, for USC, they've got San Jose State Week 0, Fresno State short week, and then Louisiana. So I would say this, Matt, some of these teams that have these warm-up games, Florida State will get to, for example, Week 1, they play SMU. There's no look-ahead factor here for USC. They've got Fresno State waiting on deck. And, you and I both like Fresno State, but it's not like USC players are chomping at the bit to play Fresno State. And like you mentioned, too, Mekhi Lemon's gone. Jacoby Lane is gone. You've got new toys. You've got NC State's top receiver is now at USC. Real quickly on USC, and we'll dive into them a little bit later because I know you talked about their win total on VSiN Primetime Wednesday night, Matt. Jaden Maiava for Heisman, 25-1 out there in the market. How much movement do we potentially see after this game if he puts up, gaudy numbers?
Probably not much. I mean, he might drop to 20-1. That'd be it. Because you got to always consider the competition. San Jose, not gonna put too much into that. USC's got so many big games left on the schedule that I wouldn't think if Maiava puts up big numbers, he's not going to go much further from 25-1 to maybe 20-1, and that might even be an overreaction. Talking about, look, San Jose State's been a decent program in recent years, but this San Jose State defense looks pretty bad, and I think USC could put up pretty much whatever they want to offensively. You're talking about the look ahead. So in the Week 2 game, USC is a 24-point favorite against Fresno right now, and this Fresno team I think could give USC some problems. So Lincoln Riley's whole thing here in the second half is going to be when he gets up so big, at what point do you pull Jaden Maiava out of the game? What time when do you pull your starters out? Because you don't want to get any of those guys injured before you've got more important games down the road. And that's something to think about with the total too. I mean, it's a 42-0. At that point, does he pull the starters out? Something like that.
Yeah, you look at last year, Matt, against Missouri State. Jaden Maiava only threw 18 passes. He was 15 of 18 for 295 yards, 2 touchdowns in that game. And the reason I bring that up, I just was looking at what his player prop is for passing yards. 300-plus passing yards is plus 108 at DraftKings.
I think I would bet that.
Yeah, look, if you're looking for action, and I know a lot of people are, it's week 0. There's not a lot of games. I think Maiava props could be of interest to see if he puts up, some gaudy numbers. And I'll say this. Coaches know where their game's being televised. This is NBC. This isn't, NBC Sports Network. This isn't Peacock. This is big NBC. This is going to be front and center there at 3 p.m. Eastern, at noon Pacific. So USC, massive favorite there. Matt, you like the total to go over in that one. Not going to be an official play, but I certainly would look at the team total here for USC at 49.5. Matt, you mentioned the excitement in Ireland. Sure, all the locals are wearing their TCU or UNC garb right now. Devastation in Brazil. They were all waiting and hoping that they were going to get NC State and Virginia. We had a couple of sponsors lined up, not really, to send us to Brazil for this game, but unfortunately it fell through. NC State and Virginia, a conference game, ladies and gentlemen, in week 0, 3:30 Eastern on ESPN. This is an NC State team. I failed to mention it. You mentioned San Jose State and the quarterback coming in from Hawaii to be their starter. Walker Eggett, he transferred out. He's at Duke. Danny Scudero, one of the top receivers in the country, transferred out. He's at Colorado. So, not a whole lot in the cupboard there for Ken Niumatalolo at San Jose State. NC State, Matt, they do bring back C.J. Bailey, which is massive. He's underrated, I think, in some people's eyes, a very, very good quarterback. But you lose Anderson and Rogers, both transfer to USC. Anderson, Rogers goes to Alabama. Joe Lee, their tight end, is in the NFL. So Hollywood Smothers transfers to Texas. So you're talking about some really talented players that have moved on from this Wolfpack program. And then Chandler Morris, very productive quarterback. A team in Virginia that won 11 games last year, came up short in the ACC championship game in overtime. And, this is one of those games, Matt, where we've seen movement in the market. It opened 2.5, but the reason it opened 2.5 was that game was in Brazil. Now you have true home field in Charlottesville. It's come down a little bit from 5.5 down to 4.5. And right now, as we sit here, 4.5 out there in the market. Virginia laying that number with a total of 52.5.
I looked at the VSiN college football betting guide in the preseason. Paul Stone and I combined on the Power Rankings top 50, and we have Virginia at 34 and North Carolina State at 39. And I know Virginia was one of those teams that really cashed in on close game luck last year. 3-0 in overtime games, another win by 2 points. I think Tony Elliott was one of the luckiest coaches in the country last year to get to 11 wins. So Bo Pribula from Missouri comes over. Eli Holstein's going to be competing for that. Pribula won the quarterback job.
Pribula won the job, yeah.
This team looks weaker than it was a year ago. Like you mentioned, some of the key guys are gone. But how about Virginia missing Miami, Clemson, and Louisville on the ACC schedule? That's crazy. Virginia gets a really soft schedule card in conference. I kind of like the dog here. I've not played this yet, but C.J. Bailey, junior quarterback for the Wolfpack, he could have left last year, and he decided to stick around. He passed for 3,105 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 rushing touchdowns. This team won 8 games. Like you said, Hollywood Smothers gone to Texas. The number 2 rusher, Duke Scott, is back. I'm thinking about playing NC State here, but I have not done that yet. I think there is a...
There's a 4.5 out there.
Yeah, there is a 4.5. Okay.
Yeah, there's right now as we're recording this, FanDuel has a 4.5 right now. Mostly 4s, but it does look like FanDuel sitting at 4.5 if you are inclined to bet the dog. Matt, that game will be on ESPN, and then the ACC network, because of course, we'll have Stanford taking on Hawaii. Yes, the ACC network will have that game. And part of the reason we are out here, we got to go to practice, a couple of practices for Timmy Chang's squad. We talked to Timmy Chang. We talked to a bunch of players. We talked to Dennis Thurman, their defensive coordinator. Not a lot back on the defense, but a couple of key cogs are back defensively. Elijah Palmer should be a really important piece. Jemai Otis is back for this Hawaii team. But the big guy back for Hawaii is Micah Alejado, the starting quarterback, preseason Mountain West Player of the Year. And then you've got Stanford, Matt. Stanford, a new era starts out in Palo Alto. Tavita Pritchard, who was a former quarterback at Stanford, was on the Washington Commanders staff a year ago as their quarterback coach. And Andrew Luck went out and brought back his guy, his backup quarterback, to be his coach there. So we've talked a lot about this game right now. Stanford, a 4-point favorite. We saw money come in this week on Hawaii when this got up to 5.5, 6. This thing opened up over the summer at around 3 in favor of the Stanford Cardinal. Total 48.5 or 49, depending on where you look, Matt. As we dive into this game here, it's one that you and I will be attending. Looking forward to it. What do you take away with Hawaii and Stanford?
I've got some concerns about this Hawaii team. Like you said, the defense is going to have a new look. I really like the way that Hawaii defense is playing for the most part last year. Some of those key guys are gone. I'm concerned that the Hawaii running backs are small. The wide receivers are mostly new and small. I don't know how, Tim, I just don't think this is going to be an explosive Timmy Chang type of offense right away. I think they got to figure some things out. And when you can't run the ball, that makes everything else more difficult. And I'm not sure if this Hawaii offense can be able to run the ball very effectively. And that's got to be a concern Timmy Chang's got too. Again, Landon Sims, the battering ram in the backfield last year's gone. And you got smaller backs for Hawaii, so I think it's going to be screen passes, a lot of short ball control type of passing attack early. And I don't think they're going to hit for a bunch of big plays. No Jackson Harris, no Pofele Ashlock. So the more I thought about this game, I thought, well, it's probably going to be very similar to last year's game that ended 23-20. But I've got it flipped here, Stanford 24-20. When I look at Stanford on paper, I'm not blown away. I don't think you are either. There's not a ton of talent there. But I think what the Cardinal will do is they're going to use their big physical offensive line, their 2 running backs, Micah Ford, Cedric Urban, and they're just kind of run the ball at this Hawaii defense all day. They're going to throw in some screens, some play-action passes, and I think they're going to find a way to probably win this game. Another concern on the Hawaii side is the kicking game.
Yeah. Kansei Matsuzawa is no longer there. He's not walking through that door. The Tokyo Toe is taking his talents, for now, to the NFL.
Well, yeah. And I don't think Hawaii's got an effective kicker right now.
Or punter. Their punter went to Indiana.
3 days. It's about 3 days after the season. This tells you something about Kurt Cignetti. And Cignetti is about as sharp a talent evaluator as you're going to find anywhere. This guy, last year I was very impressed with Hawaii's punter. Man, he's just booming some kicks. And I thought, man, this guy's a secret weapon, and nobody really talks about him. Nobody knows about him. About 3 days after the season, Indiana wins the national championship. I see Hawaii's punter transferring to Indiana. Curt Cignetti misses nothing. He misses nothing, right?
And that mantra that Bill Belichick used to say, no days off. Right. I think there's no days off for Curt Cignetti.
I mean, 3 days after winning the championship, he's pulling Hawaii's punter through the transfer portal. This guy's all over it. So, yeah, you got a new kicker, new punter. I think there are a lot of issues here. I think Stanford's probably the right side and under the total, and I think you bet this under before I did.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit on this podcast. 49.5, still 49 out there. 48's a key number in totals. You know, I think when you say Hawaii and under, people will kind of look at you and say, well, aren't they an up-tempo offense? But the points that you made are the reason why I bet this. I think Stanford's going to want to try to do what they used to do when Tavita Pritchard was on their roster, which is play it slow, grind it out. You mentioned, I think their best player probably is Micah Ford, 600-plus rushing yards a year ago.
Very effective against Hawaii defense.
And, you know, it's a lot of new pieces for Stanford, a lot of Ivy League transfers on that offensive line, a couple Ivy guys at wide receiver. I'll mention this real quickly regarding Hawaii. You mentioned Pefeli Ashlock. We did get some positive news out here regarding Ashlock. It sounds like he will be back at some point this season. We saw him running on the sideline during practice, so that's good news, hopefully for conference play. I guess week 2 or week 1 is a conference game for Hawaii. Hawaii's got 4 Power 4 transfers at the wide receiver position. They've got a guy from Washington, Virginia Tech, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State. So a lot of new pieces, but you know, from big-time programs. And Timmy Chang told me that he's really excited about the guys that they have in the slot. So, you know, I think the offensive line is going to have a big test, Matt, against these guys. And, yeah, I think this is more of a grinder. No play on the side, but I do like the total. That is an official play for me and Matt, both like under the total here in this one. Matt, you and I love the late-night game, and if we weren't going to be going out to Palo Alto, I can almost guarantee you that both of us would probably be at this game. Memphis, UNLV, 10 p.m. Eastern on Fox, and we saw some money come in on the Memphis Tigers this week, and it looks like it's still coming in. It was one-way action early on UNLV, and since it has come back. So, Matt, this is a really important game for the G6 bid to the college football playoff. One of these teams is about to have a really big leg up and a nice feather in their cap when they go to the table to the committee and try to plead their case for the college football playoff. UNLV right now laying 4.5 at home, total 56.5 between the Rebels and the Tigers.
UNLV appears to have more upside. Between these two teams, I think Dan Mullen's probably got more upside with his team. But the problem is the quarterback situation right now. You recruit Jackson Arnold, who's a 5-star out of high school, didn't really get it done at Oklahoma, and you think that he's going to seize the opportunity and win that job for the Rebels, and that hasn't happened. Alex Orji, who's been very unimpressive when he's thrown the ball in the past, seems to be a one-trick pony. Might be a guy that the Rebels use in special type of play packages. They're going to split time. And Jackson Arnold, I thought, if he took control of this job, looked impressive in camp, I might be pretty high on this UNLV team. But, Tim, that hasn't happened. So Dan Mullen's got a mystery to solve here with his quarterbacks. And I wonder if that's why one of the reasons the Memphis money is started to come in here. Because if you follow the news out of UNLV camp, the quarterback situation is concerning, I think. But if they can get that figured out, I believe this UNLV team's got a lot of upside, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I didn't bet this game. I was going to play Memphis if the number kept going up. It did not keep going up. It went the other way.
So I'll read you something from a buddy of mine, a radio host down in Memphis. I do a show once a week with Jeffrey Wright on 92.9 ESPN. I was just curious about what the rumblings are out of Memphis, and he said it has been a Saban-esque closed camp. Information is sparse, and then when asked about it, Coach Huff said on 92.9 ESPN about the secrecy, of being accused of secrecy. He said, quote, "I'm not being accused. I'm owning it. I'm guilty of the crime." So, they're a big unknown. Charles Huff had success at Marshall. For whatever reason, Marshall ran him out. He goes to Southern Miss 1 year. They go over their win total. And now You and I talked about it on the VSiN Primetime 4-hour special on Wednesday night, which is a big upgrade coaching-wise from Ryan Silverfield to Charles Huff, in my opinion. Marcus Stokes, it sounds like, is going to be the starter, not Air Nolan, but once again, we do not know. I took 4.5. Once again, it's week 0, tread lightly, but I just think this is more of a field goal type of game between two teams that I think we don't know a ton about. And I would not disagree of your assessment of there's more upside of UNLV, but think back to last year. And maybe it's not fair to do it, but remember how clunky that week 0 game was for UNLV against Idaho State?
Brutal.
They played awful.
Could have lost that game.
Yeah. They got off to a really slow start. People thought, all right, this is going to be a bad UNLV team. And then as the season went on, they got much improved.
Anthony Calandria at quarterback, he matured and he became much better.
Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. So 4.5, I'll take it with Memphis. Late night game. You got to have a little bit of action on that. There's 3 other games on the board for week 0, Matt. So let's run through these ones pretty quickly here. So we'll go 5:30 Eastern up to the Fargo Dome. Jacksonville State and North Dakota State. The FBS debut of North Dakota State, Matt. And Jacksonville State is a relatively new face in the FBS ranks. This has been a steady one-way movement on the Gamecocks. Jacksonville State was once upon a time a double-digit dog, and now you look across the market, Circa and DraftKings are at 7. There's some 6.5s out there. So is this a situation where the line has moved too much? I know you and I have talked about North Dakota State a little bit this offseason. Game 1 for North Dakota State in the FBS ranks. They're at home, and they get Jacksonville State.
But here's the thing about North Dakota State. This program's been so good for so long, so steady, winning at a high level. But, Tim, they've had quarterbacks drafted the last 2 years. Cam Miller was a 6th-round draft pick by the Raiders in 2025. Cole Payton was a 5th-round draft pick by the Eagles in 2026. So North Dakota State's starting over with a new quarterback. And last year, Cole Payton had, I think, 29 total TDs, about 3,500 total yards. He was a dual-threat guy. So you got to replace your quarterback. And they've had good coaches leave there as well. And at some point, that does tend to wear down a program a little bit. And I think it's great that the Mountain West is bringing in North Dakota State.
I do, too.
There's going to be some big-time games. North Dakota State's going to play at UNLV,
great
out of Hawaii.
Fan base. Yeah,
it's a great fan base. Randy McKay and all those crazy Bison fans travel all over the place. They believe they're unbeatable, invincible, and unbeatable. But the number came down from 10 here, and I think there was sharper money on the dog. There is respect for this Jacksonville State team out there. I know that. And I wonder, if it's dropped to the point where you feel like you're getting a bargain on North Dakota State now. I did not play this game. Again, I think you're just guessing if you're playing this game.
If you're a North Dakota State fan, I'm sure there's many Bison fans. Shout out to Randy McKay. Mm-hmm. We're here at the Sheraton Waikiki Beach Resort. It's the home of the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl. And Matt, November 14th, Timmy Chang Bobblehead Day, North Dakota State comes to Hawaii, and they've got the Road Warrior Fan Escape package. It's built for fans who never miss a game, combining college sports with the luxury of Waikiki Beach. It includes daily breakfast for 2. Matt, you and I can attest. Pretty darn good breakfast here. $100 resort credit, and a Sheraton Hawaii Bowl themed welcome amenity with a minimum 3-night stay. So whether you're following your team on the road, like North Dakota State in the middle of November, or just planning a friendcation with the crew, the Sheraton Waikiki puts you steps from the world-famous Waikiki Beach, the award-winning Edge Infinity Pool. Matt, that Infinity Pool is pretty sweet.
It is.
And
so is this beach out here.
Yeah, and the dining concept debuting this fall in Hina. I don't know what that is, but it sounds awesome. The 23rd annual Sheraton Hawaii Bowl kicks off on Christmas Eve. Just remember that at the Ching Athletic Complex on the campus of the University of Hawaii, and the Road Warrior package is bookable now straight through the big game. So go to SheratonWaikikiBeachResort.com. Thanks to our friends here at the Sheraton Waikiki Beach Resort, and all those North Dakota State fans. Why not come on out here, stay at the Sheraton Waikiki, and catch a North Dakota State Hawaii game in the middle of November, and maybe get yourself a Timmy Chang bobblehead. Matt, ESPN Plus, another newbie, Sacramento State. Just a reminder, folks, Sacramento State in the MAC this year. We have a MACtion game in week 1. Sacramento State at Eastern Michigan. How many direct flights are there from Sacramento to Ypsilanti, Michigan?
Maybe Allegiant Airlines would have one, but it's going to be very difficult to find one of those. I would guess 0. Yeah.
Right now, you're looking at a number of 9.5 in favor of Eastern Michigan. I'll just say this. I don't have a bet on this side. I do have, from over the summer, I did put together a alt under parlay with Sacramento State under 6.5. I know some sharp people went under 5.5. I think this jump up in level is going to be pretty quick. We talk about the success I think we're expecting from North Dakota State. I don't know if I'm expecting it from Sacramento State. But that being said, are you really Jones in delay 9.5 with the factory, Eastern Michigan, Chris Creighton and company on that ugly field out there at Ypsilanti?
No, but it wouldn't surprise me if Eastern Michigan's the right side here. Sacramento State lost their coach. Brennan Marion went to Colorado. He's now Deion Sanders' offensive coordinator. Took that go-go offense to Boulder, and I think it could be a long season for Sac State. By the way, Hawaii hosts Sacramento State out here at the end of November. So that's something to keep in mind.
Could be a game where
you're looking to take your family on a vacation late November. You want to stay out here at the Sheraton, come out for the Sacramento State-Hawaii game.
There's a great deal going on right now. You can get breakfast, $100 resort fee. Thanksgiving weekend, check out a little Hawaii and Sacramento State. So that's 6:30 on ESPN. Last game we'll mention, Matt, on your favorite channel, the CW. New Mexico State at Florida State. I've got
Sacramento State. That's not on ESPN, is it?
ESPN Plus.
Oh, okay.
ESPN Plus. Yeah, you got to stream. You got to stream that bad boy at 6:30 Eastern. New Mexico State and Florida State. Matt, I bet Florida State under their season win total. We'll recap all of our plays on the other side of the break. This could be a situation. I was asked about this game the other day doing a radio hit, and I do feel like this could be a game where Florida State maybe tries to exercise some demons, right? 5-7 a year ago, got off to a great start. Week 1, they win as a 2-touchdown underdog, beat Alabama. They were as high as number 8 in the AP poll before things went off the rails. I really am really curious about the lack of talent that's on this roster. Last 2 years, Mike Norvell's squad has had top 10 transfer portal hauls. This year, I think they're in like 25 or somewhere in that ballpark. So schedule's challenging for Florida State. They do get this starter here against New Mexico State, who, by the way, New Mexico State head coach, Tony Sanchez, former Bishop Gorman and UNLV head coach, Matt, 31.5, 32 out there. This is another game where you've seen steady movement on one side and no real pushback. Florida State, big favorite here.
Have you ever been to Las Cruces, New Mexico?
I have not, Matt.
It's a long way from Honolulu, Tim.
You don't have views like this in Las Cruces?
Nah, it looks like the surface of the moon. I've driven through there on the way to El Paso. And here's the thing with Mike Norvell. He needs this badly. He needs a big win badly. You think about that last year, the Seminoles, they were, what were they in that game against Alabama? Two
touchdown home dogs.
Yeah, 2 touchdown home dogs. Ty Simpson looked bad in that game. Florida State gets a big win. Ty Simpson ends up being a first-round draft pick, and everything fell apart for Florida State. I think Mike Norvell knows that he would be out of a job right now if he didn't have a huge contract that Florida State didn't want to buy out.
Yep.
He's got to win. He's got to win big, and I think there's a pretty good chance Florida State's going to run it up here on New Mexico State, but I did not bet this. I'm like you, I'm a little bit concerned. I don't know if Florida State's got all that much firepower to name the score, kind of like USC can do against San Jose State.
Vibes just not really high. You know, the offensive line is kind of a mismatch of different guys coming in via the transfer portal. Reports were that they weren't really willing to meet the going rate for quarterbacks. That's why they landed on Ashton Daniels. Once upon a time, Stanford's quarterback was at Auburn last year. And unlike USC, is there a spot in this game, Matt, in the fourth quarter or maybe even the third quarter? Well, Mike Norvell, you got a massive game Labor Day Monday night against SMU where you really can head your season in the right direction. But, yeah, the schedule for Florida State this year is pretty challenging where you play the top 7 teams based off the odds in the ACC, and you really only get one bad team, and that's Boston College on November 7th. So,
last thing I'll note about this, somebody asked me why Florida State was not in our top 50. The Paul Stone and I put together.
Yeah.
Actually, Florida State came in at number 51.
Did they really?
Paul Stone had Florida State in the 40s, and I had Florida State around number 60.
Wow.
I don't know if you did your top, 100 or if you did your ratings, but I had Florida State much lower rated than Paul Stone did.
Yeah, the talent on the roster, Matt, and you think back to what this team was and what a turn it has been since the snub of the playoff. They get absolutely annihilated in the bowl game by Georgia. They win 2 games 2 years ago. Last year, get off to the good start, and then come back and have nothing. We'll get to our best bet recap here in just a little bit. Wanted to circle back here. This is a pretty good note from Bet Labs. Home favorites of 36.5 points or more between 2 FBS teams, Matt, in weeks 0 and 1. So once again, that is what USC is this week against San Jose State. 23-0 straight up since 2013, 18-5 against the spread. So you mentioned name your score. Kind of like that's what the trend is telling us. That is a bit of a name your score thing we've seen in week 0 and week 1.
Unfortunately, the money line price is too high.
You're not going to give that as a best bet? I'm going to go USC money line as a best bet here on the podcast. Well, speaking of best bets, we will hit on our best bets after a quick break, not only for week 0, but a recap of all of our best bets that we've talked about all throughout the summer here on the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast. We're from lovely Waikiki Beach here in Honolulu. It is the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast. All right, we're back. Sheridan, Waikiki. Matt has done a wardrobe change. Matt is in the blistering sun. Once again, if you watch VSiN Primetime, our 4-hour show, Matt spent all 4 hours in the sun, and I was fortunate enough to be in the shade here on this lovely balcony overlooking Waikiki.
Phenomenal backdrop we have here. Like you said, it's real. It's spectacular. Thanks to Dara and everyone at the Sheraton for setting us up here. Tim, I don't think we could find a better place to do a show. And it's, like you said, hopefully this brings us good luck again this season.
Look at Diamond Head. One thing for those of you watching on YouTube, by the way, every episode of the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast available on YouTube. And Diamond Head, Matt, usually this time of year, Dara and Koo and our friends out here in Hawaii were telling us, usually not the most green, but they had so much rain because of that tropical storm about a week and a half ago that is absolutely spectacular. Look how green Diamond Head is, and so many people enjoying the ocean, which we are going to do here in just a little bit. So with that said, let's get to our best bet recap.
Best bets recap.
All right, Matt. Start us off with your week 0 plays and then your season-long win totals that you have discussed all throughout the offseason on VSiN and VSiN.com.
I'll just start with week 0, and it's 2 totals. I don't love to bet totals, but so far I've got San Jose State USC over 59.5, and the totals moved up a little bit here, but I expect USC to put up about 59 in this game. And Jade Mayaba, the quarterback, is going to put up big numbers. So let's go over in the game at the Coliseum in L.A. and under up the coast in Palo Alto. We're going to go Hawaii-Stanford under the total of 49, and that number's still out there at Circa right now. I've got this something like Stanford 24-20. And, we've already gone into the details of the analysis of the game, but I've got 1 over, 1 under. I'm thinking about playing North Carolina if it gets to 10. I might take Belichick in the 10 if it gets there. And I might actually play Memphis as a dog against UNLV on Saturday night, but I haven't gone there yet. So right now, only 2 official best bets.
Yeah, for me, 2 best bets for week 0. On the under, we talked about it the past couple of weeks, so hopefully it is not a shootout. We're going to be sitting there on the sidelines or wherever we'll be at Stanford Stadium. I've never been. The first time embarking to Palo Alto, and we're going to be nothing like going to a game live and hoping for an under, but that is what we're going to be doing. So 49.5 is the official number. Put that up on VSiN Pro a couple weeks ago. Still play it at 49. I think 48. 48's a key number in totals. So in that ballpark, stay there. And then Memphis plus 4.5. Would have liked the 6, but I was being patient and trying to wait for a 7. And ultimately it came down. I think this is a field goal type of game. Wouldn't be surprised if we have a live dog at Allegiant Stadium on Saturday night. A lot of a lot of unknowns for both of those teams. In Memphis, I mentioned Charles Huff kind of keeping everything close to the vets. By the way, one thing back to Florida State that I think is just super lame, Mike Norvell not putting out a depth chart for his New Mexico State game. Like, come on, buddy. What are we doing? I mean, if it's SMU, I guess, but I don't know. It was just kind of an oddity to see for me. So those two plays, week 0 plays for me. Matt, let's hit your season win totals for the year.
All right, season win totals. Arkansas under 4.5. And again, you can play this under 3.5, but I laid extra here, juice at minus 200. This Arkansas team 0-9 in the SEC a year ago. You look at the schedule, I can't find 5 wins. So wait a little bit more here at minus 200 and played this under 4.5 instead of 3.5. Colorado under 4.5 at minus 150. Coach Prime, wheels are falling off there in Boulder. And again, I could see Colorado getting to 4 wins. I have a hard time finding 5. Fresno State over 6.5. And I think the Bulldogs could blow away this number. This could be a 10-win type of team. That's a bold prediction, but I like Fresno State over at minus 120, and Fresno State to win the Pac-12 at plus 650. How about Louisville over 7.5 wins at minus 170? That price has been going up as well. Louisville to win the ACC at plus 850. Georgia to win the SEC. I know you got a better price on this than I did. You can get around plus 260, plus 270 out there. But the Bulldogs, to me, the easy pick to win the SEC and the best team with the best schedule, the combination of the best team with the best schedule. Texas A&M under 8.5, Michigan under 8.5, and then we'll go to L.A. for 2 more. I played UCLA over 5.5 wins, laid a price on that, and over 6.5 wins at plus 110. So I played both of those, kind of like a half unit each, but over 5.5 and over 6.5 on UCLA. And this is the smallest bet of the bunch, but I'm sort of buying the hype on USC. And Notre Dame's not on the schedule this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
I
not.
hadn't heard.
Irish are not on the schedule. It's still a hell of a tough schedule.
It is a really hard schedule.
It's very difficult, too. It's a great home schedule at the Coliseum. I think this can be a 9-3 USC team, realistically, and maybe a 10-win team, but I think 9 is probably right. I played USC over 8.5 at plus 115.
Ooh, all right. These are a recap of the bets we talked about all off-season long, so hopefully some of you jumped in at the price at the time, and really just for grading purposes, we like to be transparent here on this podcast. We put up our records each and every week, so these are going to be the season win totals that we will be sweating here on the show. The first off-season win total that we gave out, and shout out to my guy Josh Nunn over at Action Network. He tipped me off on this one. I think Brad Powers was on it too. UConn under 6.5 wins, minus $1.50. Another play.
I like that bet.
Air Force over 6.5. Laid a juice here earlier in the summer, minus 1, I believe 60 on that one. So Air Force over 6.5 wins. I think Air Force has a chance to contend in the Mountain West this year. You know, back-to-back bad seasons for Troy Calhoun is an oddity. So quarterback's back, Liam Zarka's back, so over on Air Force. We talked about Florida State, Matt. I laid a price here, under 6.5. It's at 5.5 now. I would not play under 5.5. I will say there's some people out there that may have played some alt-unders, which maybe the train comes off the tracks, if you will, if things start to go sideways, if they lose week 1 to SMU, if they lose week 3 to Alabama, which I fully anticipate them to lose. Matt, you broke down the Pac-12 for the VSiN College Football Betting Guide, by the way, vsin.com/subscribe. Check it out, $9.99 right now, an intro offer. I went over 3.5 wins for Colorado State, minus 115, and over 6.5 wins for Fresno State over at minus 120. Look, both those teams, Matt, I think the Pac-12, and you can attest to it, it does seem to be pretty... I don't think there's a dominant team. Boise State's there, but I think you're of the mindset that there could be some...
Tim, we started to see Boise slip a little bit last season.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see it a little bit more unless Madison steps up and has a huge season at quarterback for the Broncos. But I think the stage is set here for Fresno to overtake Boise in the Pac-12. Which actually has 8 teams, by the way.
Yeah. Don't try to do math. The Big 10 has 18. The Big 12 has 16. The Pac-12 has 8. Yeah, don't try to do math. Don't teach your young kids math via conference numbers. Georgia, this was a little bit of a, I don't want to say hedge, but almost a half a bet on Georgia to win the conference, which we talked about, plus 320 when I was able to bet it, and then over 9.5 wins. Laid a little juice there at minus 180. If they get to 10 wins, I will be in the green there with Georgia. Penn State under 9.5 wins laid, I think $1.40 on that one, and then Texas Tech to win the Big 12. So those are my bets, Matt, for the upcoming season.
It's a solid list. I like your list.
Yeah, so hopefully we have ourselves a winning portfolio for our season-long bets, and let's start the season off right. Great season by you last year on our best bets. I got off to a slow start. We finished positive, but hopefully we can start it off right this year. So just to recap once again, Matt, your 2 bets for Week 0 are?
San Jose State, USC, over the total of 59.5. Hopefully it blows way past that total, and we get a game into the 70s. Different story in Hawaii-Stanford. We think it's going to be a grinder, a low-scoring type of game. I'll go Stanford 24-20, which means my best bet here is under the total of 49.
Yeah, that money line does keep coming down a little bit, too. I think it's down to 185 if you like Stanford and want to lay a price there. No side for me in that, but a common play. Matt and I going under Hawaii and Stanford, and then I took the points with Memphis. So 2 plays for me in Week 0. Thanks again to these guys. Rainbow Authentics. I'm wearing the hat right now. Make sure you check them out, rainbowauthentics.com. We are so pumped that Rainbow Authentics will be back for another season here on the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast. They're going to also be doing a little bit on the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show as well. Matt, before we sign off here, big news regarding one of, if not the best show on VSiN. The Circa Friday Football Invitational is back for another year.
I'll be in the studio Friday night. We'll set the stage for the Circa Friday Football Invitational, 5th annual. Time flies.
Crazy.
Man. Time flies.
Crazy.
Hopefully we can get to 5 annual trips to Hawaii.
I'm down with that.
This is our second.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can make this a yearly deal.
Thanks again to the Sheridan Waikiki. The Waikiki Malia also put us up, so great accommodations there for our trip out here, and Rainbow Authentics as well. You can always email us. We're at cfbpod@vsin.com. You could tweet us at @1TimMurray, at Matt Youmans 247. And please continue to rate, review, subscribe. Check out the YouTube page. We've got previews up for the top 7 teams in the college football season. So check out our YouTube page. Shout out to Wyatt. Shout out to Justin and Ryan, all of the producers that helped put together this trip and this podcast. For Matt Youmans, I'm Tim Murray. Let's have ourselves a winning Week 0 right here on the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast.